I cannot believe this was just said by a former NBA player, someone that got cut from the Thunder. Maybe he's just a little bit jealous and butthurt that he still got cut by the team. But Austin Rivers went on his podcast and talked about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And you would think former NBA players lately have been talking great about the Thunder. Kendrick Perkins, surprisingly, big supporter of this team and believes that they could potentially get it done and win the whole thing. Austin Rivers, however, he's been fooled by the common media, thinking that Oklahoma City can only score by getting to the free throw line and that they're shooting some of the most free throws in the NBA and that's where they only get their points. This is just a common misconception and just straight up false narrative started by just random casuals that watch the NBA. And by casuals, I mainly mean a certain fan base. All right, that's out over on the West Coast, if you know who I'm talking about here. But it's just absurd to think that now it's spread and these lies and false narratives are now getting in the minds of former NBA players and now media members that are just, making it seem like, man, people are now thinking that Oklahoma City Thunder are just frauds when that's not the case. It isn't. What Austin Rivers said is actually going to help out the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm going to break down why here in today's video. Before we get into all that, though, just quick moment. We're at 2,948 subscribers. We're coming up on almost a year of the channel, and we will be doing like a year, happy 1 year anniversary stream for the channel and everything. A little celebrate, try to get some people on for that, but reach 3,000 before that. That's my goal. So if you guys enjoy the content that we're putting out here at Thunder Digest, you come back on a regular basis, and you want to support the channel but don't know how, the best way to do so is just by hitting that subscribe button. It goes a long way. It's really simple, easy, free to do. It really does help to support the channel and potentially make this a full-time thing for me here in the future. With that out of the way, let's get into talking about what Rivers had to say, along with, why it's just completely false. And it is just an absurd thing, all right? So let's go ahead, go to the graphic here. Let's look at what he said, all right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander still going to do his thing, but OKC just getting away with all these foul calls. Absurd. I didn't realize we've been getting away with foul calls this season getting to the line. It's not going to be like that. You guys have gotten away with this all season long. You guys have been winning games because of it. In the playoffs, things are going to get a little physical, and these refs are going to be like, man, get up. I'm not calling that. It's going to get weird. Okay, this is just absurd that he's saying this. Like saying, oh, you're not going to get as many foul calls when it comes to the playoffs here. And because I didn't realize the Thunder were getting some of the most foul calls in the NBA, all right? If anything, it's going to help out this team because of how physical they play on defense. That's what's going to happen. The playoff whistle, you're not going to get as many foul calls as you usually do, especially on some more physical plays. Not going to happen. You just aren't. It's going to help out this defense that has guys like Dort, Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, and Isaiah Hartenstein on the team. Even Jalen Williams. It's going to help out all these guys. Some borderline calls that are like, ooh, we probably call that in the regular season, but playoffs are not going to call that. It's going to help them out tremendously for a league's best defense already. And Brandon Robart, he said it best as well. Like just this right here. Oops, right here. Boom. Thunder have the second worst free throw differential in the NBA. Thunder shoot the fourth fewest free throw attempts. Thunder opponents shoot the fifth most free throw attempts. OKC is winning despite the free throw disparity, not because of it. So he just proved everything that Rivers had to say. And there's a few other stat graphics that we can go ahead and pull up, like this one right here, all right? I know you can't see the numbers and everything, but that's because of how low OKC really is in free throw attempts per game. You see all the way over to the right, not the 82, but 20.2. That's how many free throws a game OKC is shooting. 27th least free throws per game. And you notice a common theme here of all the teams that are kind of down here. Like, oh, why are they all down here and everything? Okay, well, Boston, I get it. They're shooting 48 threes a game. You're not going to get to the line a ton when you're not driving in, getting in the paint. That makes sense, all right? Same with the Chicago Bulls with 42 threes a game. But then, we have the same kind of free throw number as a bunch of other teams that are kind of in the top echelon as well. And it just doesn't make sense, all right? We're shooting almost the same amount of free throws as, teams like the Lakers, and they're top 5 in free throw attempts per game. Stuff like that. Nuggets, same. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's like, oh, drive in and you'll get more free throws. We drive the most in the league. The Thunder drive the most in the entirety of the NBA. They're shooting the same amount of free throws as teams that, that are top 5 in free throw attempts per game, but yet they're not getting the calls. So this has been a common theme all season long that Mark Daigneault has talked about, Shai has talked about, J-Dub has talked about. Every single player and member of the Oklahoma City Thunder has talked about how the team doesn't get free throw calls. All right, they don't get any shooting foul calls. All right, if anything, they're going to get him on the floor, and then they go to the line and shoot bonus free throws because teams are trying to catch up late. That's what happens. Or technical free throws. Like the whole Shai free throw merchant thing narrative going around. Like, you got to stop with that. They use the Detroit Pistons game as an example. He only shot 5 legitimate free throws. The other 5 he shot of his 10 came from technical fouls. Maybe don't lose your temper, and we won't send our best free throw shooter and best player to the line to shoot the free throws. Maybe, think about that a little bit. Oh, he's going to drive in. Shai gets majority of his points from the mid-range or paint. It just naturally, you're going to get fouled down there. That's what happens as a guard. That's just what's going to happen. And like I mentioned with the defense and everything, like it's just going to help us out here, right here. Boom. This is a graph showing the top teams in defensive rating. Thunder have a 106.2. This was from NBA.com. StatMuse is also going to say something different, but I don't know if they have the last game included in this or not. But like I said, defensive rating 106.2. Then a pretty decent gap between them and the Orlando Magic that have a 109.4. And they're number one in almost every single category as well. They're number one in steals per game. I think they're fourth in blocks per game as well. They're first in opponents' points off of turnovers. So like how many points they're scoring off of turnovers and everything. Their turnovers, I believe. So like they're allowing the least right there. You can see with 13, just everything. Okay. They are dominating in every defensive stat and category right there. And it kind of has been shown the entirety of the season. So this playoff whistle that Austin Rivers is talking about here, it's actually going to benefit OKC in the long run. You're telling me, some of these physical calls that get called in the regular season that won't in the postseason is going to hurt OKC? No, it's going to help them because this team likes to play physical defense. People always talk about, why don't we ever have the mid-range again? But when Shai comes in and does it, it's, this is boring basketball, free throw merchant, blah, blah, blah. When it's the exact same play style Kobe and MJ played. All right, it's the exact same. Then with defense, people want we want more defense. What happened to physical defense and trying out there and hustling? The Thunder do that, and it's like, oh my goodness, they're going to hurt players eventually. Like, it's just insane. It's like I mentioned with the Shai MVP narrative and run right now, all right? They're moving the goalpost back for Shai, moving it further away every single time he does something. But for Jokic, it's the same. It's the same thing for the Thunder. If this was any other team, let's say they wore green. Let's say they wore purple and gold, something like that. Any of those teams, it's fine. It's natural for that to happen. But with the Thunder, it's not for some reason. Even though when you look at historically speaking wise, all right, wrong graph right here. Boom, we got it pulled up, all good. They're second all time right now in net rating. And there's a common theme of a bunch of these teams. Chicago Bulls first place, and they could easily have the best net rating of all time by the end of the season. 13.1, Bulls have a 13.4. Few blowout wins in some games I think the Thunder can definitely blow out teams with. All right, can push them ahead. But that, Chicago Bulls 1995, 1996 team, what they do? They won the championship. Same with the next Bulls team, 96, 97. Won the championship. 16-17 Warriors won the championship. Last year's Celtics won the championship. The only kind of outliers here are the 2015-2016 Warriors, who blew a 3-1 lead, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the same year. And then the Spurs that season, who lost to that Warriors team as well. Every other team on this list with the best net rating of all time besides those two won a championship. So I like my odds for the Thunder to win a championship, even though they have this so-called free throw, disparity where they're only winning games because they're getting to the free throw line, when they've only recently started getting to the free throw line a little bit more. Even then, the entire season, the refs have not been friendly to OKC on the offensive end. Defensive end, yes, they've helped out a little bit here and now and then. Even then, they've lost some games because of the free throw disparity, especially games like the Lakers where it's been really close. Even with the Warriors, it's been really close. It's just absurd to look at this, and now media members and former NBA players are feeding into these false narratives started by casuals in the NBA world. I'm not talking about NBA world. I'm talking about just casual fans, all right, who only watch LeBron James play. I don't want to be this guy that's calling him out, but that's the case. That's the only reason all of this started, Okay, and then NBA media members and former players, even current players, are now feeding into this narrative. And it's absurd and it needs to stop. And Austin Rivers is just completely wrong on his take, and it's actually going to do the opposite. And it's going to benefit the Thunder the most come playoff time. And that's where they're going to make the finals and even win it all. That's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys personally thought about what Austin Rivers had to say. Do you agree with him for some reason? If so, let me know why so I can try to see your side of it, calm and collected. If you don't, you agree with me here, let me know in the comment section below. See you guys in the next one.